All right, so I'm going to do the quiz answer tutorial for week of January 14, 2019. All right, so we're the big blind, and in all these questions, we'll be in position. So we'll be the big blind, and Willem will be the small blind. Willem opens to 3 big blinds, and we're 3-bet, and they call. So knowing that, what do you guys think of this?
I thought the aces was probably not in range because we wouldn't bet it for half pot on the turn. But I'm not sure about that.
I think it would want to check the turn as well. Yeah, I think
it blocks a lot of the ace high calls, and it doesn't block any of the flushes. I think the flush, the 6 deuce, is the all in.
I agree with that one too. I think the 10-9. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think the 10-9 is the check, and the ace king is the 27 big blind.
I think I don't know how to weigh. So like the ace king has the flush blocker, but it also blocks the some of the ace calls.
Which is more important, do you think?
I guess the worst, we just want to try to avoid getting raised, so probably more important to have the flush blocker.
Yeah, very good. Result.
Okay, I think the 8s are not within range on this one. Similar to the previous quiz, I think it wants to bet smaller.
Smaller
on the turn, I think.
The turn? I was thinking he might go bigger. But I guess it's 3-bet pot, so I'm not sure. Because you don't block any of the top pair. I don't see why you'd go smaller necessarily.
Well, I was thinking you'd want to bet it like it was just like an 8, like an 8x.
Oh, I thought that was more for out of position. You can pick the same bet size as the pair.
Yeah, maybe I got confused with that. It just seems that.
I was thinking the queens made
more
more sense.
So you're right with the 8s. Aces are not within range, but it's not within range from up here. So 8s will bet small on the flop, hoping to get raised by a king. So yeah, with 8s you go smaller than this, and then your 8x would bet small as well. Well, most of them would.
Oh, okay. So the aces are all in? I got confused with the aces and the ace king. But I think the ace king actually may be a... Sorry, I'm talking out loud. Let me go back in my head there for a minute.
So I think we have the same, like a similar situation to the last hand, where one of them is doesn't block as many calls. Like the aces doesn't block as many king high calls, but the ace king has the flush blocker. So unless there's like a different dynamic here, I think it's probably, if we're gonna be betting one of them and not the other, probably it's the ace king that's betting and the aces is checking. But maybe they're both. One of them is the, maybe aces is the. Are we bluffing queens here?
I think Queens is checking here. I think Queens is the check.
That would make sense. It's just too good to bluff, probably.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. I think if we're jamming, then we're not worried about getting raised. So we probably just. Oh, but then does King X fold to a jam? Probably some of them will have to, but mostly still calling, I'd be guessing. So it's, I think for the jam side, it's really bad to be blocking the King X. So I think if we're picking between aces and ace king, then we're going to be jamming the aces, checking the queens, and then either betting or checking ace king, but not betting for a jam size. I think with ace king.
Yeah, bet and check ace king, I think. And jam the aces.
Yeah, very good. So here, so on the 7, completing the flush, the opponent can ship some of their flushes. So with that, you're going to be indifferent with some of your value, unlike if this was like an absolute brick. So in that case, the ace king is actually going to be indifferent. The aces are still on all in. But
So
the ace king is still a jam. It's just indifferent. I'll show you guys the sims. I should be showing the other one as well.
okay.
So here's ace king. So ace king with the flush blocker is indifferent. Aces shoves. Eights is indifferent from up here. So eights is there, betting quarter of the pot.
Okay.
Similarly, kings mostly bets quarter of the pot.
What is
there,
villain
it's
calling
does
with?
that.
Calling the jam with?
A lot of the top pairs
Okay.
and better.
Okay, so ace makes way more sense as a jam then. Yeah.
What else was there? Sorry, the last one. I'll show you this as well. Yeah, so the aces, that particular combination of aces checks here. Actually, most of the aces checks here. So that's why it's not within range. 10-9. The ace king. The ace king with the ace of spades actually has more equity, just because it blocks a lot more of the flushes. That's why it's betting for that size.
Okay.
And yeah, the 6 you can shove for value. Does make it there. All right, so this one.
Yeah, I was staring at this one and I wasn't really sure about any of the hands. I definitely don't think jacks can jam. Which hand isn't in range? I would think probably the ace deuce would not be in range.
Why do you think that?
I don't think it would bet I don't think he would bet both flop and turn for that size. Doesn't make too much sense to me, I don't think. Unless we were using it as a it doesn't make sense, I think, to turn ace deuce, especially when it's a pair, into after we bet flop and turn, it's basically a bluff. I don't think that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see betting the flop, but I don't know if it continues on the turn with the ace two.
Yeah, I think it's got to be ace two or 7-3 is gonna be the check. Or sorry, it's not in the range.
I think 7-3 makes sense for it to be bet. They're betting both flop and turn.
Yeah, my only reservation was just because it's such a low flush draw that occasionally you want to be checking a lower flush draw in position. What do you guys think the turn means? Like, is it the same thing as in the single raise pot, where if it comes a high card, we want to be more linear of a range? So ace deuce might be some sort of like it doesn't really make sense in that sense. It's more of like a polarized bet we might use on a brick.
It's hard for me to say because I had a real hard time with this.
Yeah, not sure about that one.
Is there one that stands out that maybe we could solve that end first? Like you guys both think that the 7-3 suited is like an automatic bet, and then what would you do with that in the river?
When we block, what do we block? We block ace three.
See, these cards do block the low, like the low straights, the 2, the 3, and the 4, and they also block sets.
Right, yeah, the pairs do block sets. Just I think usually with the pairs, especially the ace high, especially when there's a pair, we don't usually start turning those into bluffs. I don't think, especially not on like there's no back or anything with ace deuce. So I think it's just a very inefficient bluff.
Well, what do you think about the jacks? Would we say that that's the all in here?
Yeah, I kind
don't-
of feel like that it could be the all in.
I kind
It
of feel like
blocks yeah, go ahead.
I kind of feel like jamming the jacks here is too thin. I probably think the jam size is one of our bluffs.
I definitely check jacks on the river. If I bet flop and turn, have enough showdown value.
Oh, I think there's value there with the jacks.
Like I'd be a little bit more happy if the jacks were different suited. Like if it was, if one of the suits did not coordinate with a flush draw, because I think that'd make it less likely villain has a queen. But I could see it either way right now. How about in terms of 7-3 and ace 4? Are we just checking with ace 4 because it has showdown value, and then 7-3 is the bluff? Like how much showdown value do we expect the 4 to have in the situation versus the out of position caller?
The ranges right now. 7-3 is a 3-bet pre-flop.
Yeah, it's a low frequency 3-bet.
Okay, and ace 4 offsuit. I guess.
That I think is also a low frequency.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
I think
ace,
I think
ace
I
four, yeah.
don't. So, what of ace? Mm, I think ace two it's not in our range because we check on the flop with ace two, or definitely check on the turn. We have showdown.
yeah. Right now, I kind of think like the I feel like jamming the jacks would seems too thin for me. I'm not sure if that's right, but with that in mind, I'd put it into the either bet or check if there's some value,
Yeah,
and then ace
I
four.
definitely with
Uh,
jacks.
ace four, I think, is just a check. We have showdown value, um, and then 7-3, we block some straights. I don't think blocking the lower flush draws is too big of a deal when we jam here because I think check calling with the
A-
lower flush draws on the turn for out of position wouldn't be too profitable. So it's not that relevant to block them on the river, I don't think.
How much showdown does a 4 really have though versus 2 calls? Like,
yes, I think ace four is better check, in my opinion. And 7-3 we definitely go all in. If we bluff on turn with flush draw, I go all in on the river with 7-3. We don't have showdown value. And it's a low flush draw, so we can bluff.
what do you guys think is folding on the river? Like, what sort of paired hands are folding on the river versus a jam? Like pocket pairs are below a 10. Is that about it?
You think a 10 just has to call down here? Like,
I would think most of the 10s would probably have to be calling unless they blocked a lot of our bluffs.
because I guess can small one can have some sets here, no? Some sets in two pair, queen 10. Not too many two pair, but I don't know if they would always just be raising somewhere. Like flop, I think all the sets are just calling. Turn, there might be a couple of raises, but I think there should be some sets on the river, and then some queens, some queen 10.
Will queen 10 raise on the turn if villain had queen 10? Because we're betting half. We're not like making a pot size bet. So queen 10, I think, might raise the turn. This is a really difficult question.
Yeah, I would think queen 10 raises the turn a fair amount.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you one because I made a mistake with the suits, but this is here.
Okay, was it supposed to be
That
not blocking the backdoor flush draw?
It's supposed to be jack of clubs, jack of diamonds. Instead of jack of clubs, jack of hearts. Yeah.
Oh, does that make a big difference?
It's not a huge difference, but it's still
Okay.
there.
Well, because you were saying jacks was a check, so that makes it a lot different in terms of the options left.
Yeah, I definitely don't think we want to be bluffing with the ace four, like with the ace of clubs especially, because we block some of the floats.
That's right. So by elimination, I guess it's a 7-3 that we're gonna.
Although,
I mean,
if ace deuce is in the range,
Ace two is not in the range, I think. We can check.
yeah, I think it makes way more sense as a check. On turn. If we're betting whatever deuces we're turning, like we're turning deuces into kind of a bluff, then I think we'd probably use worse deuces.
Yes, and I ace four have showdown value, I guess.
Yeah, it makes a really bad bluff, I think.
And 7-3, we don't have showdown value. We need to bluff with 7-3. And we have good blockers for straight though. For straight.
There aren't too many, right? Is it just ace 3? 3-6? But 3-6 is I don't think villain has too much 3-6 here. Although I guess the 3-6 he does have, we do block because it'd only be the 3-6 with a flush draw. But I really don't think that's in the range.
I agree. Like ace four is not a good bluff, but I also don't think it has much showdown value. I think it's more so just because it's a really bad bluff that we don't bet in the river. Like I don't think there's a huge difference between 7-3 and ace four in the river in terms of their actual showdown value.
Right, but even if it's like non-zero and it's not a good bluff, then it's just like we're taking, like when we bluff it, we're giving up the showdown value. So if it's non-zero, it's still significant.
I
Yeah,
think
so-
I don't bluff with ace four with ace of clubs because we block
Right.
some flash draw. No? And it's not a good bet.
Right, so ace four would be a check. Now we're deciding whether we should be taking ace deuce or 7-3 as our triple barrel. Because I see those two as having similar showdown value. The question is, which one do we bet the turn with? Which one do we check?
Well, ace deuce isn't it's unblocking the miss flush draws, right?
Yes, but then again, I don't think the 7-3 blocks too many of the flush draws that are check calling flop and turn.
All right, so guys, so figure out which one's not within range first.
I think ace but
I-
it's very hard.
I think it's ace deuce.
Yeah, I don't know
Why do you think it's ace deuce?
because I don't think we continue barreling on the turn with the ace deuce.
What is that?
Well, we got villain's range has been filtered on the flop, and once we get called on the flop, I just it's like the bottom pair best, top kicker. I'm just not sure if we would continue barreling with that. Where the ace four, we could because we still have the gutter.
Yeah, we have the gutter, and we also have the nut flush draw blocker.
Yeah.
And the 7-3?
Well, 7-3, it's got a flush draw on the turn.
Yeah, it may want to check the turn, the 7-3.
Yeah, 7.
Why is that?
7 check.
Because we want to have a low flush draw would be good to have in our checking range there.
Why this one?
I'm not sure.
Because we
I know we
block
want to have some
other-
flushes in our checking range.
block the
we
tens.
block the 3s and the 7s, and those are all hands that might fold the turn.
Yep, good.
Also, we blocked the lower flush draws that might fold the turn also.
I don't think any flush draws will fold the turn.
No flush draws? Okay.
All right, so this one here is not within range. So it blocks pocket sevens, blocks pocket threes, and those fold here on the turn. Also, when you bet, you pretty much lose your ability to effectively outdraw ace high because you fold out all the ace high. In terms of with a pair. So if you check back and you make a pair, you're going to be pretty good. Versus if you bet and they fold out essentially all their ace high, and then making a pair isn't quite as good.
So,
Right.
but
So
that
it's
doesn't.
so it's a combination of blocking folds and losing some of your draw strength.
Isn't that the same for ace deuce though? We also block the ace high fold.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad with ace two because you're already ahead of ace high. 7-3 doesn't block the ace high folds, but that's not the point that I'm saying that I'm making. The point that I'm making is with 7-3, right? If you get ace high to fold, you've lost your ability to essentially use your pair outs as a part of your draw, right? So here on the turn, you've got a flush draw, right, which is the majority of the draw strength of this hand. But you've also got the ability to draw to a pair, like a 7 or a 3. 7 might be to 5, right? 3 can be an ace high. So you lose some outs by betting.
Right.
It's not quite the same with ace 2. With ace 2, you actually don't lose any outs. And you can get some thin value sometimes from particular draws.
The flush draws, I guess.
Yeah, it's difficult to pinpoint how many of them will just call. The added benefit is that you also block hands like ace queen, pocket twos that would raise you for value. As well as some ace x which would raise you as a bluff. And you can also bluff them off a chop a small amount of the time.
Right.
All right. So now what do you guys think about which of these two goes here or here?
Ace 2.
I think definitely jam the
ace 2.
The ace 2 hearts.
You want to jam ace 2 of hearts? Well, what's the benefit of jamming ace 2 of ace 4?
We don't block some clubs.
We unblock the flush draws, right? The ace 4, the missed flushes.
Sure.
Also, the 2 is just weaker than the 4.
Well, the 2 blocks potential sets of slow play. It also, the ace deuce also blocks hands like ace queen suited, which might occasionally 4-bet.
And ace 10.
And I think, like you guys are saying, the ace of clubs, like I kind of think the 2 hands have similar
which of these 2 hands are gonna win more often when you check?
The ace 4.
Why is that?
We beat some of the 2s.
What 2s?
Pocket 3s.
Pocket 3s follow the turn, remember?
Right. There's not much
Ah.
difference between the two, really, other than the club.
Yeah, so you've got the club. So
I guess the twos that would call would be the ace two for the club, but we blocked that hand.
I don't really understand what you're saying with ace two of clubs. You can't have ace two of clubs.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter that the ace four off beats that hand because we blocked that hand. So I think that's like the twos with the club, like ace of clubs, are most of the twos I think that would call turn, and we block those hands, so it's not super relevant that the four beats those twos.
Yeah, we want villain to have the ace of clubs.
Yeah, so there's no ace two off in villain's range.
So
So with the ace of clubs, what's going on with our opponents, like ace eight, ace nine of clubs?
so you're saying the ace four has almost no showdown value in this situation because we basically block all the ace high floats on the turn.
Well, it's not that it's got no showdown value. It's got less showdown value than ace two,
Yeah.
right? And pocket threes isn't super relevant. 2x isn't super relevant. With the ace of clubs, you've got less showdown value even though you block clubs. The trick is to realize is because you're bluffing ace high at some frequency, you've got some ace highs in your range here and you're going to be bluffing them. All their ace highs are going to fold anyway because they lose to the bluffs. So it's not as it is slightly important, but it's not a huge amount of importance that you block those hands.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also think about some of the ace X which you block that always call. So ace queen would always call, ace 10 would always call. Right? Ace 3, if they've got that, would always call. Well, it's difficult. Actually, it's quite difficult to see how they got ace 3 here, but definitely ace 10 and ace queen. Ace 5 maybe as well. Probably call it a pretty high frequency. So blocking ace high isn't as bad as you think with particularly the ace of hearts or the ace of clubs, right? So like with the ace of clubs, sure, it blocks some of the ace of clubs which folds, but because of that, it's got less showdown value than ace of hearts 2, because ace of hearts 2 can actually win at showdown against the ace of clubs. The nut flush draw they missed. Also, having a 4 is nice because it blocks some of the 2 pairs, which made it. In particular, 5-4. Maybe some other weird shit too, if your opponent has that from pre-flop, but definitely 5-4. So for that reason, this one's a check. This one's a shove.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I didn't. Yeah.
So we can have a
Thanks for
look here.
explaining it.
Yeah, jacks. Yeah, right, whatever. Ace 2 always bets the turn. Okay. It's a pretty good bet on the turn, but doesn't always bet the flop, right? So that's sort of the difference. You have to think, right, where if you've got ace 2 from somewhere, why would you check the turn, right? It doesn't make too much sense to check the turn because the turn is just so good for you, so good for your range. And you've got a fair amount of equity and you can get called by plenty worse hands, right? So yeah, and you don't block these
all the folds.
these pocket pairs which fold, right? You block some ace high which fold, but On the flip side, you block like ace 10, which always calls, ace queen, which would raise you, and pocket twos, which would raise you. You something for a chop. 7-3 is not within range for the reasons we talked about already. Ramex are pretty check.
Sorry, the main reason is because it blocks those pocket pairs?
Blocks those pocket pairs, loses some of its draw strength. Right, similarly at 8-4, right? Same sort of idea. Blocks those pocket pairs that fold and loses some of the draw strength to making a pair. 8-4 not quite as much because 8 calls a bit more, but 7s and 3s folds. And then here, if you look at the the expectations. The expectation of checking the S2 is 7.65, and for the S clubs 4, it's 7.87. Not a big difference. But basically, this one can win a showdown more when you check, and this one a little bit less. Jamming becomes more effective. Sorry, the checking EV. So here, checking EV is 7.65, and this one here, the checking EV is 7.2. But the shoving EV is quite a bit higher.
Right.
So shoving can actually get call based too some of the time, which is nice. But blocking 5-4 is pretty good because they'll always snap you off. Blocking ace queen, blocking ace 10, right?
Doesn't the other ace also block those things?
Yeah, but it doesn't block 5-4.
Okay.
Also, it unblocks the ace high, which folds, which you would win at showdown. So, yeah.
Okay.
Slight minutia. I think the main thing you got to take away from it is that here 7-3 isn't within range. And jacks you can get pretty thin for value in a lot of these lines.
Okay. Sorry, what is could you show me what villain's calling the jam with?
Sure. There you go. So all the top pair, a good chunk of the middle pair, feeling good percentages. This looks like calling a little less than half the time. And in terms of the pairs, around 25% is a 10 or weaker.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, so this one's pretty tough.
I think we probably wouldn't bet the jacks for this size on the flop. Probably go smaller.
I agree with that. I think the ace jacks may be the ones not in the range. I'm sorry, the jacks, the pair of jacks. Though well, I don't know if 9-4 bets the turn.
You mean for like similar reasons as the 7-3 in the last end?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, but except this time the 9 isn't like a bad blocker because the 9s don't fold. I mean, the 4s do, but the 9s probably don't. And we don't have we don't actually have the flush draw this time, but we have the straight draw. So I don't know what that means.
So you're saying you guys would bet pocket jacks quarter pot on the flop?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be bet for half.
And you think a hand like Jack 7 should be bet for half pot on the flop? So I thought typically if you have like a top pair, you prefer to bet it if it's more vulnerable if you have some sort of backdoors.
I think the reason we
Oh.
bet Jack 7 is because we don't block any flush and we want to get call with flush draw. And we get 2 streets of value. And we check Jack 7 on the river. Oh no, it's straight.
Jackson's a straight, yeah.
It's a straight. Yeah.
So we picked up the gutter too on it.
But we definitely want to bet flop and turn, I guess.
I'm not sure about the turn bet. I mean, I'm honestly not even sure about the flop bet. I could get behind the flop bet. The turn bet seems a little bit. It seems like this hand would really suffer from a check raise in the turn. I don't know if that's the right way to look at it.
I don't think we bet with jacks flop and turn half pot. I prefer a small bet on this flop and bet pot on the turn.
Yeah, I feel like the Jack 7 makes sense as a bet, especially since we pick up the gutter on the turn and we don't block any of the flushes, flush draws. I mean.
Yes.
So you guys think the Jack 7 would be the river check, or sorry, the river bet 64 big blinds all in?
Thinking maybe it's the ace king because we block king queen.
Isn't villain check raising king queen? Like I thought that was a pretty common thing. Is if you get an open ender with no showdown value, you're check raising the turn.
Could be check raise. I could see it calling too. Just probably. I'm not sure which one it does it more in.
It would definitely.
I feel like yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was saying would definitely want to raise the turn if the flop was more dynamic. But seeing it's just the straight there, I think it's probably somewhat indifferent between betting queen king on the turn.
You mean raising? Check raising?
Raising, yeah, raising the king queen on the turn. Because it's pretty stable and it doesn't block our like Jack X value. So we would be betting for it.
I feel like the Jack 7 doesn't make too much sense as a like it doesn't make sense as a pure jam. It's like not the greatest straight, and it does block the top pair calls.
Yeah,
Queen's
I
also a
would.
straight. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't looking at it right. I think that's probably more close to like a bet or check. I'm just trying to think about like what the significance of the ace king is. Actually, that's why I jumped to looking at what the villain does on the turn.
Do we bet
I think
ace king on this turn?
sorry,
What was that?
say that again.
Do we bet ace king on this turn?
Good question. I'm thinking about the same thing.
We have 2 overs, and I got it to the nuts.
Yes, but we don't block any flush, and he can shove the flush. A flush draw on the turn. He can shove a flush draw on the turn.
All right. So, what are you guys saying about Jack 9? I mean, sorry, Jack 7. What do you
I think we're getting closer to saying better check on the river.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Yes.
why are you happy with betting the turn here?
Well, we have top pair. We don't block the flush draws, and we have a gutter.
Are you happy to get shoved on?
No, definitely
No.
not.
Actually, wouldn't be too bad.
Is your hand strong enough here with Jack 7? Is it strong enough to bet the turn to risk yourself getting shoved on?
I don't think so. Like, I think if you get shoved on with Jack 7, you might be in a 0 EV spot, or you might just have to fold. That's how I'd look at it.
Yeah. So you're not very happy because it's not strong enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, it's not strong enough to. Look, you're definitely gonna have to fold if you get shoved on. It's not strong enough to bet the turn to justify the risk of getting shoved on. It's better to check back the turn
Okay.
and then decide what to do.
Okay.
On the other hand, like a hand like Ace Jack, an overpair, right? Those hands are quite a bit stronger, and so those can happily go 3 streets on good runouts, but Jack 7 not so much. Right? There's not too many good runouts you want to have with Jack 7.
That's true.
Okay, so that's not in the range.
That makes sense. Because 2 pair could get could get us to fold there if it jammed on us. Be
Right.
folding the best hand.
Okay. Then I think probably the Jacks is the
All in.
actually. Oh, I was gonna say better check.
Yeah, I was gonna say better check too. I don't think you want to go all in with Jacks here.
I do think we can get. There's a lot of 2 pair we can get called by.
Like, sorry, I should say I don't want to go all in with Jacks all the time. I think that would. I don't know. Actually, maybe I'm wrong.
I'd say should villain have a donkey range on this river?
Yeah, most likely.
So where are you indifferent?
What do you mean? Where are we different?
In terms of your value range?
Probably right around Jacks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Jacks is just like a pure bluff catcher at this point, right?
Oh,
No, you haven't been jammed on. Villains check to you.
we expect villain to have a donk range, so some of the straights or a lot of the straights are going to be in that range. So then the check range, imagine have a bunch of 2-pair.
Very good. So the 2-pair will want to be calling.
So you're saying straights would donk would donk straights on the or lead. Let's use the word lead on the river.
Yeah, some of them.
Then Jacks
And donk is the correct term.
Okay. So the ace kings.
if villain have a donk range here, I think Jacks is definitely a value hand.
And 4 or ace king.
I'm sort of leaning towards the 9-4 being the jam, and I'm not sure exactly why, but
We need to block 2-pair with 9-4.
but at the same time, sorry.
Don't
Yeah, I think
block,
that makes sense actually. Because
But if
we're jamming or
we block 2-pair, and we don't block any flush with 9-4, I guess. And
Yeah,
it's
but
a
we
good
don't-
shove,
we don't
bluff
really-
shove.
we don't really block with ace king either. I don't think. Or you
I
mean
think ace king has just too much showdown value, right? To bluff.
What hands
What-
what hands do you beat when you got ace king?
I don't think we'd beat much.
Just worse ace high. And king high.
And they would have led the river, so
We beat ace, low ace with the
they
flush.
all these hands
Oh.
would have donked the river.
Yeah, I don't think we beat much here at all.
With ace king, we definitely can check to beat ace x of clubs of.
Ace X bets the river, so he doesn't have it in his checking range.
I was thinking since we're indifferent between checking or jamming the jacks to try to get value from the 2-pair, then having the 9 to block some of the 2-pair is really good thing to have. Also, since all the
Which hands from villain fold?
ace jack, king jack, ace 10, king 10, like basically all his 1-pair hands.
Very good. So
Yes.
9-4 blocks the 2-pair, and ace king blocks the 1-pair. So the 1-pair folds. So you definitely want to not bet ace king.
okay.
And 9-4 blocks 2-pair and unblocks the folds. So
They both basically have no showdown, right?
yep, they got no showdown value here, and all the weaker hands would have bet as a bluff essentially.
Okay.
Whoa.
Hang on, let me show you guys that. So here, this is villain's leading range on the river. So it's a bunch of straights, mainly the weaker straight. It's a little bit of the strong ones, a little bit of sets, but basically all the ace high which they had, donk bluffs, all the weaker pairs, and donk bluff as well. So it didn't really beat anything. And you got 9-4. Ace king's got 0 equity. Doesn't beat anything in the opponent's range. And 9-4 only beats like one hand. So yeah, when you shove, look at this: ace jack, ace 10, king 10. Right, they all fold.
Right.
But
so
all
really,
the 2-pairs, essentially all the 2-pairs have a 9, right? Because how else do you get to how else do you make a 2-pair in this spot? You have to have made it with a 9. Because the 2-pairs on the turn or the flop would have raised.
Right.
Where's hero indifferent versus villain's donk range on the river? Like, what hands are we kind of like we're not sure what to do with?
So yeah, I mean, a lot of the hands are different between calling and folding.
So just the one pair. Is that the one pair? Is
Yeah. So here, villain's donking range for this quarter pot size is mostly the bottom straight, and then a little bit of the top straight for value. So if we look at this, it's all straights, but a little of the top straight for value, and then a good chunk of the bottom ones. So when he bets, you can't raise the bottom straight, and then you're indifferent between raising and calling the top straight because he's got some king queen as well. Right, so here he folds all the bottom straight. All right, this one. So yeah, these questions aren't easy.
Oh, we bet bigger on the turn this time.
so what does that mean when you bet bigger?
We are more polarized.
The river jam is smaller for one. I guess it's the most obvious one.
Yeah, I think you're both right. It definitely seems like we're more polarized on it. Yeah, it's mostly a brick.
Mostly brick. I think the ace queen is just pretty clean for value. We can jam in, I mean.
You're betting the ace queen on the turn, 100% that you get there.
Oh, I didn't see the not within range. Oh, yeah, maybe not.
I think the ace jack is not in the range on this one.
Why is that?
Because we got the jack nine's got the top pair. The 5-6 has the double ender. Oh, sorry, the 6-5 has the double ender. And the ace queen suited. Not 100% sure why the ace queen suited would be betting that large on the turn, but I definitely don't think the ace jack would.
Well, but we had the diamond.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got the yeah, right.
Do we
I
bet
think-
5 on the turn?
Absolutely.
Or
I think so.
I don't think so. I can't with I prefer a check on the turn and maybe a call on the river.
I don't know. I found the solvers pretty aggressive, and I think the 5-6, it's double ender. It blocks some of the pocket pairs. I just think it's a good bet.
I think also we could, if we compare it to the ace deuce hand a while back, like where we bet on the turn. I think we think of the 6 as just extra equity, but sometimes we're also just beating some of the flush draws that call, and we have an open ender plus the 2 pair, etc. So I think it's going to be pretty aggressively bet here on the turn. Plus we block. I don't know if there's too much 5-7, but we do block that. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I'm kind of mixed on the 6-5 just because it's like that's a very linear value bet, but I thought this turn was like we're polarized in our range a little bit. I don't know. I could go both ways in the 6-5, but I'm not entirely convinced on that one yet.
What you do with Jack 9? You wanna bet big and check on the river with a blocker, or check the turn and call maybe a bluff on the river?
If we get
I
jammed
don't-
on, if we get jammed on with Jack 9, I think we just have to fold, right?
I think betting the Jack 9's okay, because we have equity, but we need it's like we get protection as well when we bet that. We don't really want to give free cards when we have the Jack 9 on the turn. I don't think we want to give free cards. I think we deny equity.
I don't think
And
we use the
protect our hand.
size. I don't think we use the size to be denying equity. Or like with this size, we're not.
Yes, with Jack 9, I prefer a half pot on the turn if I wanna bet and check the river, or check the turn. But no.
Yeah, I think with Jack 9, if we get jammed on here, we just have to fold probably. So I think that one we're probably not betting. It's not gonna be in this size. So we check
I
that one.
asking the sizing from the turn with Jack 9 is my concern.
Yeah, I think.
It might just even be a check.
Yeah, I'm thinking it would be a check and definitely not the size. And like, I would actually prefer to bet 6-5 over Jack 9 if those are
Yeah,
not.
me too. So you think Jack 9 is not within the range at the river?
I'm not sure between Jack 9 and Ace Queen.
I mean, what do you guys think? Are we able to stack off with Jack 9 on the turn?
I think after this size, probably not.
We're not going to get
Probably
raised at a higher frequency with that bet size, but hard to say. We don't want to get raised.
I'm pretty sure we just fold because we have all the overpairs.
I think we are polarized on this turn, and if we bet the Ace Queen, definitely. I don't know. Yes.
Okay, I was just thinking also, like, if we look at this from a range versus range, villain isn't going to have much two pair on the flop or really the turn, and we have all the overs. So I think but he has all the sets though, right?
Sets.
All the sets, and we don't.
I don't know how many sets we have.
We maybe have nines. We have nines,
We have
and
nines.
six is questionable, but we don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. Like, I almost feel like I think what you were saying about the Ace Jack makes sense, that somehow that's not within range, because we like when we start polarizing on the turn on a brick, that also means we have to give up some of our draw hands, and I feel like a hand like an Ace of Diamonds, Jack of Hearts is just not a very good hand to bet the turn with. Is there something I'm missing about why we?
No, I think I agree with you. I think that's well said.
But I mean, why would we give up the Ace Jack with the diamonds instead of the Ace Queen? Because Ace Queen's it's higher up, like it has more showdown value, and it doesn't. So the Ace Jack has a diamond too.
Like the diamond, I don't think that helps us that much. I don't think blocking the diamond, if it comes another diamond, is like as important as Ace Queen not blocking the hands that turn a flush draw.
But those hands that turn the nut flush draw don't fold.
They don't fold, but we beat them, right?
So no more.
What if you get shoved on?
Then we lose. with ace queen. But we see a river with
We see a river with 6-5.
Yeah, we definitely see a river with 6-5, and I'm thinking Jack 9. It's I don't know. I feel like it's clear cut as to what we do when you get raised, but for some reason I don't know the answer to that. I think it's different than the Jack 7 hand somehow. Like maybe villain has enough draws we can call it off, or maybe what someone else was saying with the overpairs is true. I don't know, maybe not.
All right, I'll give you guys a hint.
okay, then I probably think the what do we do with 6-5 if we get jammed on? Do we have enough to stack off? We have
I would think so on the turn, but maybe not. I don't know. You have open ender, one pair. We beat hands like flush draws, 7-8. Block
Yeah,
two
okay.
pairs, turn two pairs.
I have a question. Do we need to bet with ace jack on this turn? So
Yeah,
big,
that's yeah. I'm there with
I
you.
don't know if I bet ace jack because we don't block too many flush.
I mean, yeah, but I think we blocked the raises and we also blocked the calls. So I think it makes way more sense to be betting on the turn than ace queen. And I think if 6-5 can call the jam, then it's definitely here on the turn. Sorry, yeah, it's definitely gonna be betting on the turn. Then kind of a process of elimination. It's just the ace queen that checks back and tries to beat the missed flush draws, or yeah, the flush draws on the river.
Okay,
Kinda
so you're
dodge
saying
it.
we actually want to block the turn flush draws because they might check raise us rather than not wanting to block those. I see. That makes sense too.
Yeah, we block the raises and we block the calls. So when we
Okay.
bet there, we just we get more folds.
Yeah, I could see that actually. I didn't think of it that way, but so you're saying the ace queen would be not in the range.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's starting to look that way.
And then let's say we barrel ace jack, and then the queen comes.
So the 6-5 is you're saying would be the better check.
Sorry, you mean on the river?
Yeah, on the yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
I don't know. Maybe 6-5 is
no.
not good enough to call off. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about that. If anyone else has other viewpoints on that, appreciate it.
I think it should be strong enough. Because yeah, like you said, we do block we block some sets, we block some two pair. Not that many two pair though.
Well, what are we getting? What's villain getting to the river with? Flush draws?
Flush draws, some 9x. Probably some 6x.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of 9x and then some pocket pairs like 7s, 8s, and then hands like ace 4, ace 3.
There's like 5-4 a lot, like the
Mhm.
pair of less gutter hands. 5-4, 6-5.
Sorry, I'm late. What spot is this? This BVB?
Yeah, 3-bet pot. I
Okay.
respond.
So I think the 6-5 could probably be better check. And ace jack has showdown value, I guess, for the check. And the ace queen is not in the range.
Yeah. I have kind of like a meta argument for why it's not for why ace queen's not in the range. Because if jack nine's a jam, then ace queen's definitely a jam.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Thomas kind of gave us that by putting Jack 9 there. I'm kind of curious about Jack 9, that we're always jamming the river.
So this is the river. We're jamming like everything. Yeah, this is a really good river for you. After you bet 3/4 on the turn, you essentially fold out almost all the overcards. So villain's never got any top pair. And it's only like a half pot jam, like 60% pot jam, whatever. So shoving means they have to call a lot. Definitely calling all their 9x, right? And they're calling a lot of their weaker pairs as well. Folding 7s and 8s because they block as many 2 pairs. A6, right, shoves most of the time, and 6/5 shoves a little bit of the time. Here, because the SPR is very, very low, you get this weird thing that happens when you've got 6/5, in that you can fold out 7s and 8s and then get called by like 5/4.
Which you block.
Well, the point is that you get called by some worse.
Oh. Okay.
Like you get called by a little bit ace high, right? You block some of the 2 pairs. So it's one of these very mergy things. And it's necessary to make these sort of bets. Otherwise, you're not betting frequently enough on the river to prevent your opponent from like donking some of their very strong hands. So that's why the 6/5 is indifferent and ace6 always bets. Ace jack, yeah, just the ace of diamonds or jack of diamonds hands which gets there, and there's no ace queen. Jack 9 always bets the turn.
Sorry, ace jack was the pure check, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's just not. Ace jack wins a fair amount of showdown against weak ace highs. And then so jack 9 always bets here.
Wait, sorry.
Right.
What weaker ace highs does villain have?
A few. So here all these ace highs with a flush draw called.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
So and even without the flush draw.
What is villain's calling range on the river?
Shedding the flush draw probably is not important, but basically ace 7, that's a bit weird. Ace 5. And then the flush draw is not important because you actually block them with your Mess of Spades jack. But there's king high as well.
Okay. The king high flush draws. Okay.
Calling on the river, any 9, a bunch of the weaker pairs. It's a very good river for you.
Okay, so if we know villain is not calling hands that he should, like in real life, for example, 7/5, they're probably folding. Should we adapt by still shoving jack 9 and just bluffing wider, or what sort of adjustment do you think it's better?
So here the bottom of the value range is jack 9, so you probably wouldn't want to do that.
If his calling range is too tight, we don't shove jack 9?
Yeah, and then you can bluff for your ace high.
Are we calling a jam on the turn with the Jack 9 too? Is that like a clear call for betting the river?
Yeah, he's only making like a half pot raise, so it's pretty easy to call that off.
Oh, okay.
So the ace queen of spades is checking try to see a river.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here, this is the betting range. This is what it looks like. You see, it's actually quite polar. A lot of it is the good top pairs. So you could classify jack 9 into sort of the good top pairs. Right. The weaker top pairs are the ones that check. So here, look at all of it. particularly the top pairs. A bit more checking with the 9-7, 9-8. Not exactly sure what's going on there, but basically the top pair on this turn likes to bet because it wants to deny equity from those overcards,
Right.
right? Which there is a lot of them. Yeah, overcards make up a third of the range. Roughly. All right, this one.
Well, I assume we're jamming a flush, right? A straight flush.
Yeah. I tend not to assume anything when it comes to GTO. Like the straight flush.
I'm pretty sure
It's
we
not
get there
in our
with it where we're jamming it for sure.
I mean, we probably are.
Do we always bet the 7-6 here on the turn? So,
I think
like,
so.
Which
I
one?
think
Like, sorry, what I mean is like, which one is not in range?
I
That's
think
what I'm
so.
looking.
Not in our range. We don't bet on this turn.
Which one?
6-7.
Yeah, I think it would get it would really suck to get raised with 7-6 here.
Yes. And we prefer a free card, a free river card.
Do you think villain check raises enough on the turn that makes betting a problem with this kind of hand?
Absolutely. It would just suck to get raised there.
Here
Yeah,
are
but
two
do you
flush.
think he raises often enough?
Here on this turn are two flush draw.
Yeah.
Phil won't have a raising range. Yes, like that. Actually, that 7-6 might not be in the range.
Well, I personally check back a lot on this turn with 7-6, but I'm not sure if that's GTO or not. I guess
I think it makes a lot of sense just because if we get jammed on, it's just
yeah, it sucks.
Call.
Yeah,
It
I
would
agree with that.
It would reduce the EV of the bet to get raised with that hand.
Yes.
Right.
At this stack depth, it really sucks. Like if I was deeper, I'd always bet 7-6 just so if this card comes out. But yeah, I think getting jammed on is more of a negative factor than drawing to the pure nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because the implied is less.
Yeah, and also I think the fact that Thomas put in aces with the ace of clubs, I think that one we're more likely to bet the turn. Yeah, rather than if there was no ace of clubs.
Yeah. So the ace, the aces just keep on betting, and they're probably going to jam at the river.
But I have another question. Do we want to bet half pot with aces on this turn?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's okay too.
Or do we want to bet more polarized? I guess. Not a merge. I don't know.
I don't think cases are merged. I mean, pretty much the nuts.
They don't. Yeah, they don't require a bigger bet. I don't think.
Yeah, the hand that would, if you bet
About
two
our-
sizes, I would think 8-4 would be like a pot size bet if we have a hand that bets pot in the turn.
Yeah, true.
Although it is a 3-bet pot, so like we don't need to bet pot to get it in on the river.
Yeah, or I guess the other hand is 27 big blinds, but I think most of our hands want to bet half pot. But that is a fair question because if 7, like I feel like the only two hands that could be not in range would be 7-6 or 8-4, but I'm leaning towards 7-6 at this point.
Do we get raised that much on the ace turn though? Like, because we have way more aces than villain does, don't we?
We do, but the villain also has at least 8 combos of
Like 2
aces
pairs?
up. Yeah, exactly.
Two
That they're
pairs,
gonna-
yeah.
And Villain is not going to play passively here either.
With 2 pair, he definitely won a gem on this turn.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Do we-
I
do we-
can see 7-6 not being in the range.
Do we want to?
Aces.
Do we want to continue with those jacks on the turn?
I
We-
think so.
like the words-
Half
Half pot, yes. Me too.
Yeah.
Half pot.
Basically, charge all the draws.
Yeah.
We're still mostly ahead here. Yeah. I mean, there's like some 2 pair, but I think versus like a 3-bet, we don't
If
feel
the
too
bet
bad
are
about
more
folding.
polarized, like 27 big BB on this turn, definitely don't jacks is don't our range there. But half pot it's in our range.
Okay. So
Do
do
we
we sort of?
jam aces on the river? I mean, villain will have pretty much no flushes, I guess, because with ace of clubs, we block ace x of clubs, and he also doesn't have. We only lose to ace 3 suited.
And we beat all the other sets. So I think I agree with aces being the all in on the river.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of think the 7-6 is not in the range.
Not in range, yeah.
Jacks is a check, and then 8-4 we bet half.
That sounds exactly pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I am agree.
All right. So what's not within range?
The 7-6.
7-6.
Okay. And what are you guys doing with the jacks?
Check.
Checking.
All right. I know these ones.
Jam aces.
And
I guess we're not jamming aces then.
Yeah.
I mean, 8-4 then blocks ace x, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure.
But then we also don't block the flushes.
Yeah.
How many flushes does he have that haven't check raised the turn?
Do you think villain's got a checking range, a betting range on this river?
Oh.
5. Oh, 4 to a straight. I didn't even see
probably.
that. I didn't even see that. Yeah.
I mean, there's no 3x. I think that's pretty irrelevant.
Ace 3 maybe?
Ace 3,
Yeah,
4-3,
like,
pocket
3
threes.
combos.
Pocket threes? I think pocket threes maybe.
Probably not pocket threes. I think that's a bit.
Yeah.
Does villain defend 4-3 suited? I don't think so.
4-3 of spades.
So we're saying that the 8-4 blocks the straights.
Or maybe it's, I guess the flush card is more important at this point, right? Like if I think something Thomas was saying, like if you decide to call with like non-shutdown draws on the turn, so if he has a hand like 10-9 of clubs, that he has to develop a donking range on the river. Like you either have to check raise aggressively and or start donking on rivers that favor your range.
You're talking
You
the
mean
50.
if you're check calling a bunch of the draws, like
Yeah, if they're check calling a bunch of non-showdown like club
then you-
type of draws, they should develop the lead range. Maybe it's more weighted towards like flushes or air. And what does that mean for us then? If he checks to us.
So that means he doesn't have as many flushes, so the ace blocker isn't as important.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Wouldn't he be leading his worst flushes though? And the
I have another question. Is 8-4 enough strong to get a shove? To bet here, all in?
yeah, I mean, I think we block all the two pairs, and then we just got called by an ace a bunch of times.
With ace X, with clubs, we get a call. And so we need to get all in with A4 and bet half pot with aces. Because we block some clubs here.
Yeah, very good. So here 8-4 goes all in, doesn't block the ace X, which would call. Aces on the other hand does. So in terms of getting called by worse, when you do decide to bet, I mean obviously aces is stronger, but it's easier when you shove 8-4 to get called by worse than when you're shoving aces, compared to using another size. On the other hand, if you used a smaller size here, like the half pot, you get caught a little bit more often by hands weaker than an ace. And then when you do get shoved on, you're blocking all the nut flush that takes that line, and so it becomes a bit more of a profitable call.
Mm.
So here we can look at the so it looks like so villain's betting range. A few of the weaker flushes, some of the strong flushes being checked, a little bit of the straights, checking 8-4 shoves. The 7-6 is not within range. It doesn't bet the turn for the reasons you guys highlighted. Yeah, checks does bet the turn for the half pot and then checks back the river quite happily, and then aces there bets the half pot. Similarly, ace king with the flush blocker does the same, because those hands in particular are strong enough to bet half pot and get called by some worse hands, and then if you get shoved on, you can mostly call because of your flush blocker.
Why did
Sorry.
the villain donk bet so large on the river?
So the stack blocker ratio is less than 1. So that's got something to do with it. And yeah, it's just a really good river card. Just in terms of the flush draws. So like here against the half pot bet, Bullen just never follows a flush draw. Any flush draw. Right, and the idea is that if one of the flush draws completes, the other missed flush draws essentially can shove into as the bluff. So here, the king queen jack 10 type stuff is the bluff when the other flush completes. So that's essentially how they get the max amount of value that they can by floating a flush draw at a position on the turn here. All right, they've got a lot of over flush draw and 2 overcards to the middle card. All right, so this one.
Okay, right off the bat, I feel that aces is probably okay.
All right.
Oh,
Like
Well,
aces and block king
sounded like
X,
it hung
right?
up. I just got a text message, so.
What were we saying right off the bat?
I think aces should be jamming because we unblock king X, right?
I'm not sure because looking at the bet sizing, I think on this pretty dynamic board that I think aces would probably want to bet bigger
Oh, on the
On
turn,
the flop.
right?
on the flop.
On the flop,
On the flop, yeah.
I actually think we should bet range. Like on this flop, king 9-3 is very favorable for us, so I think we do want to use a smaller bet sizing. So
Yeah.
I think we would probably bet bigger with aces, especially this combo because it unblocks his flush draws on the turn. So I think
Yes.
if we don't have aces on the range, it's because of the turn sizing, not the flop, I think.
If the flop was drier, I'd lean more towards the betting range for like the small sizing. But I think based on this texture that we'd have some kind of polarized sub range where we'd want to bet aces more. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking out loud. I just kind of think that we'd have some kind of a more polarized range on that flop texture than betting the just range. It's not dry enough.
Yeah, that's right. So you can have 2 bet sizes on the flop.
And the turn.
Or more than 2 bet sizes. Yeah, same thing on the turn.
So ace is not in our range then. We bet more polarized with aces, I guess, on the turn.
I think so. I think they'd be in a more like polarized sub range of the 2 bet sizes. I don't think it would fall into the smaller bet on that texture.
Very good.
That's interesting. I really thought we would polarize on the turn. But yeah, I guess if we can have more than one bet sizing on the flop, yeah, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, so aces can either go a bit more polar on the flop or a bit more polar on the turn.
Mm-hmm.
Queen seems like a reasonable
Aces is pretty happy to get raised on the flop. So like, you can make of that what you may.
Mm-hmm.
Queen seems like a reasonable check on the river. Do you guys see any reason for betting?
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Does anyone disagree with just ace king jams and king jack bets 40?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it's just hand strength. The ace king would jam, and the king jack would bet 40. I think it's strictly like the relative hand strength of them both. So yeah,
King, queen.
Yeah, I am agree.
All right, so I'll show you guys quickly. So here aces without the double blocker bets the pot size on the turn. So here you've got the two different bet sizes, pot and half pot. On the flop, there's quarter pot and half pot. And a lot of the aces goes for that half pot size rather than the quarter pot size. So it's good that you pick up the aces. Doesn't get here in this line very often. Because one, ace doesn't really bet quarter pot that often here. And then on this turn, aces doesn't bet half pot very often.
Mhm.
So when aces does bet, either on the flop it bets bigger, on the turn it bets bigger. So here in this line, the river, it's not within range. And then, yeah, queens can take this line, at least some of the time. I get some value from like 9x, 3x, 6x, flush draws, etc. And then on the 5, comfortably checks back, happy to win the pot, showdown. And then the top pair hands here, king jack, it's a half pot versus the ace king can shove just because of the relative hand strength. Ace king beats king queen, which they would have some of the time, as well as king jack. And then king jack bets half pot, and then if it gets jammed on, can decide where not to call. Here, kings is used to protect the king jack.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was gonna ask about the king jack suited because if we bet half pot and he jams, I guess we're folding, but not worry about it because we use king as well.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't fold all the time
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise they would never jam. So yeah, you're definitely indifferent. All right, this one.
Okay, can you go up a little bit?
So all these are villain is in the small blind, here is in the big blind. So for all of these,
Okay.
in the 3-bet pot.
No way are we 3-betting 10-3.
You should check the preflop ranges.
Yeah, I'm checking.
no, it's a yellow. It's a low frequency 3-bet.
Okay, so villain donks turn makes sense. I guess 10x
Oh, wow,
is
okay.
better for this range after check calling flop, and then we raise. Yeah, I mean, I think 10-3 is probably not in range because why are we raising with 10-3 suited? We block so much stuff.
So I think the main thing to be concerned about is aces has the ace of clubs blocker. The mic off? No, it's on. Okay.
Ace is the range.
Sorry.
Aces is not in the range, I think, because we have ace of clubs and we want to check or to call on this turn with aces, I guess. And let the villain hit a pair on the 2-pair on the river and get call with aces. And the
Yeah, I
flush
think it makes sense.
we block the clubs, so we can call on the river if flush comes with aces. So make more sense to call on the turn with aces.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like kings and queens, we still need to raise turn for protection.
What
yes,
are we?
because we don't block flush.
What are we folding? Or I guess we're not. What are we just calling villain's lead on the turn with? Is there anything we're just calling? Is there any one of those hands that we're not raising to 25 big blinds on when we get led into on the turn? Like, is villain saying he's got tens now, right? Is that what he's trying to say, or he's got a flush draw?
So
Villain with all his range, I guess, 10% here.
okay, so who's asking that?
Who me?
Yeah.
Martin.
Villain
Okay,
dump
Martin.
here.
Remember the last
with
quiz?
all-
Martin, you were here in the last quiz where basically on a lot of turns that were like a flush completes or the turn pairs or stuff like that, the out of position player can like just donks a ton.
Right.
Yeah, I
we
wouldn't
have
think it's,
don't have.
So we take that action with all those hands.
I don't think it's 100% of his range, but I think it's a lot of hands, like they're saying.
It's a good percentage of it. Like,
Are we taking that
lot of-
action with queens? Yeah. 10.
Yeah, I think queens we need to raise the turn for sure. Our hand still needs a lot of protection from ace-4 suited, ace-5 suited, flush draws, stuff
Okay,
like
so
that.
none of these hands that we're looking to sort would not raise that size on the turn. They're all would do that.
No, I think as who said it live, I think. Like he said, we're probably not raising aces because the hand doesn't need protection and it blocks the flush draw with the ace of clubs.
Yes.
So yeah, I tend to agree with him. I think we're just calling the turn with aces and probably betting ourselves big on the river or raising if you bet small.
so with aces here, I'm gonna like harp on.
Yes.
So what would he, like aces would say like I don't need protection from overcards, and I don't need you block the gut shots of ace-5 and ace-4, right?
Yeah.
So
aces wouldn't need to raise the turn.
well, it wouldn't not need to. It wouldn't because it blocks the bluffs really hard.
Right. So that's the one that's not within the range. Then you think?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Because
Like
something
on first,
there,
yeah,
right? Something gets filtered on the turn, right? And on this question,
Sorry.
something is filtered on the
Yes.
turn in this
Right.
question. We think
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
yeah.
It seems very straightforward to me that queens, kings, and aces would all bet half pot on the flop. Right? There's no difference between them.
So we need to bet here the full house because we go all in. We need to go all in on the river to get all the money. No.
Well,
yeah,
you
that's
can get all in on the river in many ways.
I mean,
Not
at
really.
first,
If we call with 10-3 on the turn. The stack operation is a little bit higher. We need to over pot jam on the river. So
like
yes.
let's say we just flatted with 10-3, then the pot would be 40, 42, 43,
yeah, something like that.
43, and we'd have stacks of what behind? We'd have like 70,
75-ish, right?
slightly more like 78 or something. 18 and 78 behind, right? So we have just over 2x. So villain can bet into us, which he'll do a lot more if we flat. So if we flat, the 10% villain will bet into us more on the river, and we can
Yes,
raise
but
that.
we want to get more value from his draws with 10-3. And if jam we can call easy with 10-3. if we get jam on this turn.
Well, yeah.
All right. So if you guys have 10-3, do you want villain to make a flush?
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
Oh,
But
so
you
we're
would
just,
think
I
what?
guess 10-3 is not within range because we want to not fold out draws. And
How
then
much-
aces.
So if you have 10-3 or really any full house or better, do you want villain to make a flush when they donk into
Yes,
you?
of course.
Absolutely.
So it's a pretty good
So we
hand to
should
flat.
just be calling, yeah. Yeah, that was my first instinct, but I think the point he made about aces was he made really good points about the aces. So I
Yeah,
was kind
the
of
point
swayed
about
the
aces
other
is
way.
the point about aces is good too, but 10-3 wanting your opponent to draw to a flush or a straight or something is a bit better.
Okay.
I checked this turn with 10-3, but I don't want to make another assumption here.
So bet or check, river.
So do we check the aces, hoping? Well, not hoping, but do we check the aces with the intent of? No, never mind. Sorry.
So my only problem with so like the instinctive, like some people is gonna be like, oh, we can jam aces, we can better check kings, and we can check queens. But I think that's really wrong because I don't like villain can never have really, or doesn't often have like kings, queens, or aces. So
Yeah, they're kind of the same. Like
Are the
relative
correct
strength
color
for
of
villain's range.
the queen king?
like he would four bet all of them, yeah.
Yep, I think so.
So if he four bets all of them, then we don't need to be worried about any of them.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
assume, like, let's just say he flatted, he would
Queens
raise us
were.
on the turn, on the flop rather. Do you agree?
Yep.
So there's got to be something else that we're looking into for these overpairs and
I think
Yeah.
the aces and the ace of clubs will play some sort of role here.
sorry.
But I think the aces, this combo with the ace of clubs, will play some sort of role. Like
Yeah, the
in
ace
the
of
way
clubs
we play the
plays a role.
river.
And I'm wondering if like the king or queen blocks certain 10x combos, like
I think they block the same because
yeah.
villain, yeah, it's same suits, block queen 10 suited and king 10 suited. So
And ace 10. Ace 10. They're all going to block.
Wait. Queen 10 will often not call the preflop. Queen 10 off.
oh, yeah. No, I think it's actually the kings and queens. The good thing about it is that it unblocks ace 10 suited, for example. Oh, never mind. We lose to ace 10. Never mind.
I actually think he has queen. I think he has queen 10 more often. I think ace 10, king 10 are sometimes four bet. Like ace looks like ace 10 off, king 10 off can both be four bet.
Right, and queen 10 off can fold a lot of is going to fold a lot of the time pre-flop.
Yeah, I would just think he has slightly more queen 10, but maybe not.
So let's assume he folds queen 10. So he has more king 10, and kings block king 10, so that's the jam.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Is villain three betting the turn?
Sorry?
Is villain going to be three betting our raise in the turn with any of his
I
tens?
don't think so. I highly doubt. In fact, I would even say that villain doesn't have a three betting range on the turn, but I could be very wrong here.
I mean, three betting the turn, I think if he he would. So yeah.
Does villain have to call ace high on the river? Any ace highs, some ace highs? What do you think? How much ace high is in their range on the?
Not very much.
Yeah,
Very
zero.
little.
Like
Ace 4, Ace 5,
So with aces,
Ace high flush draw.
Yeah, ace 4, ace 5, ace high flush draw. Good.
with
good.
aces we block his folding range, right? So it means he'll call more when we have aces.
Mm,
So
say the same thing about kings and queens, couldn't you?
That's the thing. You can say the same thing about all those three hands.
I mean, they're all over here, so we're looking at blockers, right? So if villain does not have very much ace high in his ring, then it's okay to block aces.
Yes.
Okay, and then like, does anyone agree with my argument about queen 10? Like, he had
How much ace high do you think they have on the flop? Some of them, all of them. What do you think?
on the flop.
I have a lot.
Yeah.
They have like
Yeah.
a lot because they call with all the ace high backdoors. Thinking.
And then on the turn?
on the turn he will probably bet fold. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's bet full in most of them except for the ones you talked about. Ace 4, Ace 5, Ace X of clubs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, and then what about ace 3, ace 2?
Oh, those would have to call river, and then aces sub block it.
I don't think he should use ace 3 has to call rivers.
Does it? Doesn't block it.
All right, I'll give you guys a hint. If ace 3 has to fold the river and ace 2 has to fold the river, then you definitely can't bet kings or queens.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so if you can't get value from a 3 or a 2, then you can't get any value with any of these hands. So
we're bluff jamming. We do.
I think what he's saying is
I'm saying
that ace 3, ace 2 have to
three and
call.
ace 2 have to call.
Sorry.
Ace 3 and ace 3 and ace 2 should call at least some of the time.
So which hands unblock the most of those?
So
From
aces
these-
have to check.
Yeah, because aces blocks a good chunk of that calling range.
Yeah.
Ace
My gut
check.
was aces have to check, but for the wrong reasons.
And then what were you guys saying about these ones? Something about king 10, queen 10. Yeah, you guys are right there. So here, a little bit more king 10 than queen 10. Also, if villain has ace queen here somehow, they'll sometimes call the river. They'll sometimes hero call the river. So having kings doesn't block that ace queen hero calls as much.
So king 10 is so we can jam king 10 because king 10 is in his range and we block it. But queen 10 is not in his range.
No, they're both in the range.
Yeah, but queen 10 less often.
Yeah, I'll show you guys. So here, queen 10 is actually a little bit more there and a little bit less here. It's not a huge difference. So some of the kings is better check and some of the queens is better check. It's just the subtle difference is that when you jam ace queen a little bit, sometimes we'll hero call you. So having queens sometimes block some of those hero calls, right? Definitely, if you have aces, you're blocking a good chunk of the hero calls that he can make.
Mm-hmm.
With these weak pairs and ace highs. So you definitely don't want to bet aces.
Shouldn't the suits be different on the aces though? Because those ones don't block ace 3, ace deuce, right? Unless I'm looking at it wrong. Like the ace, because in this example, you have ace of clubs, ace of spades, and that doesn't block any suited ace three, ace deuce.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Well,
There's nothing. I mean, like it blocks ace three of
Yeah,
spades, ace deuce
doesn't
of
matter.
clubs. Whatever.
Yeah,
But any other
ace
ace
four, ace five, maybe.
okay. Okay, yeah. So as long as it doesn't actually block the ace deuce, ace three, aces is a much better check.
There is ace three of hearts and ace two of hearts. All right, which you can call. Anyway, next one. All right, this one.
Uh-huh.
Do we bluff here with king, queen on turn? With no flush blockers?
You want to bluff with what?
With king, queen.
I mean, king queen on the river.
Do we bluff on the turn?
Yeah, I don't see any reason to do that. That seems very.
Oh, bluff on the turn.
Yeah, that seems very kind of crazy to me.
It's also in a half pot range on the flop. I'm not sure that would even be a half pot bet on the flop, king queen.
So I'll need to or just tell me what people think here. So tens here. Do you guys know the flop overbetting stuff? I'm not sure how much it applies to 3-bet pots.
Well, it's two-tone. It's two-tone, so I don't know if it applies to two-tone.
Yeah, you can still 2x, 3x, or whatever the flop with like you can overbet the flop with tens. It's fine. Even on two-tone, it doesn't like it's fine. And like villain won't have any two pairs here on the flop, right?
Yeah, I
Right,
don't think so.
right, but he'll have some draws.
Yeah, like
I
eight.
I think here we go all in with jack 7. King queen is not in our range. Then we check, and ace king is better check.
Sorry, say that again.
Ace king is better check. With tens we need to check on the river, and we need to bluff all in with jack 7.
Okay. Do you want to explain why you bluff all in with jack 7?
Because we bluff some flush with 7 of.
So my only problem with that is like if you bluff anytime you have one spade, you'll massively overbluff. And were you considering bluffing with ace king as the better check?
I would prefer the king of spades to bluff. Like, if this is single raise pot, I prefer having the 7 of spades. But I think the king of spades blocks more hands on the river because if villain were to like slow play a flush, I think it's more likely it would be a king high flush, and I think they're more likely to 3-bet 7 high flush. Maybe even if they don't 3-bet 7 high flush on the turn, I think they just have more king X's that call a 3-bet, like king 5, king 6, king 7, up to king queen suited. And I think both of what you guys were saying, like the flop overbet, that seems like a convincing play. But I also think like that king queen suited, like king queen hearts, is like not a raise on the turn. Like I just don't ever see
in
that.
single raise pots, why do we have to overbet?
To get it all,
No. Guys, let me be clear. Like I want to throw like overbet. We're not going to overbet the flop in the 3-bet pot here with tens. It's not happening.
All right, very good.
I was wondering if there's
You should explain why at least.
me.
Yes, because you brought it up.
Yeah, so I brought it up. I brought it up for a different reason than that. Like, oh, tens would overbet the flop. I don't think tens would overbet the flop. That's not what I'm saying. Like, so in a 3-bet pot, or sorry, in a single raise pot, why are we going to overbet with tens here? Well, because he's got a lot of overcards we want to like either deny equity from, or our tens are very vulnerable, but there are still going to be like 97% of villains range if it's in a single raise pot like button versus big blind. So you can overbet just to fold out all his overcards, and he doesn't beat us with 2-pair sets very often, so we can just do that. In the 3-bet pot, there's no need to get the to overbet, get the money in. Like, this is not a good way of thinking.
And we need, when we want to get stacks in a single raise pot, we can overbet, but we don't need to worry about getting stacks in the 3-bet pot because we can do it easier.
That SPR is like 4.5 or something, right? Anyways, yeah, sorry, I brought that up for a different reason. I was wondering, in terms of like what's protection, what's not, like not protection, but like holding out stuff. All right.
On the turn, I'm not actually sure like what I was saying, if that's accurate. Like, it actually seems like there's a fair amount of 7 high flushes, flushes that contain a 7 and flushes that contain a king. Do you think we're going to be through betting the stronger or the weaker flushes more often?
So raising with, like, I think, okay, so raising with Jack 7 off on the turn, like, man, that takes balls. Anyone agree?
King Queen, I would agree with King Queen hearts. I feel like the 7 should be sometimes.
King Queen at least has overs. I mean, like,
but like, you're not blocking. I think you're not blocking the more important feature, which villain is basically saying, like, I could have a flush. He's not saying I always have a flush, but like raising with King Queen, I don't know. It just seems like.
Do we want to get shoved on by raising Ace King with the King of Spades on the turn?
I mean,
I would be
I don't
happy
think
to
that's
fold.
much of a problem. Yeah, I would fold. So
Like, perhaps if you have the Ace of Spades, then you're a little bit more bummed out and it's closer.
well, he might bluff jam with just the Ace of Spades, not the King of Spades.
Yeah, true.
Like, I don't know. I'm just looking at our through bet range, for example, and we have a lot of offsuited hands, so I just don't see why. Like, we have King Queen offsuit 1 spade, and like that would be okay to raise, but I don't see the reason to have to like raise King Queen of hearts. Like, because you have so many 1 suit hands, and because villain has a ton of flushes.
The tens make sense in this line, in my opinion.
To raise?
Makes sense.
No,
Yeah.
Tens make sense on the flop and turn.
Mm-hmm.
Like the most sense to me. Ace King is with 1 spade also makes sense in this line. So yeah, so I mean, it's between King Queen and Jack 7. We're already there. Maybe we can try to solve for Ace King and tens and come back later. We're not sure.
I know out of position in 3-bet pot we need to bet pot on the flop with tens on this flop. So,
Sorry?
Small blind versus big blind out. So if we are out of position, we need to bet big on the flop with tens. I don't know. We need to bet half pot.
We're in position.
We could bet. Just a second.
Villain has so few decent hands on this flop on the turn. He doesn't get a decent hand till the river if he wants to hold on that long. Like, I mean, the way the small blind, what small blind's going to call with, I don't see a lot of it anywhere here. So, looking at it from a range versus range interaction on the texture, it may kind of give some more weirder results. But I agree. I agree with you. Tens and the ace king seem to work through the flop and the turn.
I don't know what to do. Like, I couldn't imagine raising with either king queen or jack 7 here.
Yeah, me neither.
I think king queen's a fold though. Like jack 7 is kind of like, to me, I don't think I would raise it, but like I could get behind like a raise. I could see like, okay, I can't quite call jack 7, so I'm gonna raise it. But like I can't say the same logic to king queen. Like
and I don't see king queen betting half pot on the flop.
So my only thing, guys, is that jack 7 with the 1 spade as the raise, like it's such a bad flush.
Yeah,
you can't. Like it's not like you've got like that that juicy amount of like equity when you get called. Like I feel like you don't. Whereas I much prefer the equity of king queen of hitting 6 outs. Well,
yeah.
4 outs.
5, 6, yeah.
No, 4. I mean, the spades are not very good outs. The king and queen spades are good outs.
Well, I'm thinking on the flop. I'm just going right back to the flop. If that hand fits in a half pot bet, still, I'm just not sure.
With 7 here, we block some draws and a7, 6-7.
Jack 7 has some backdoor stuff going on.
I mean, okay, maybe king queen's a call on the turn. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but I just don't see it as a raise because like it just seems like you want to have a spade if you're gonna bluff raise. That's the reason I would put it over king queen. Like maybe it could be a call, but like jack 7 I think has immediate fold equity because you block flushes.
All right, so I'll give you guys a hint. So if you've got, so compare ace king with the king of spades to ace king with the ace of spades.
Yeah.
All right, and think about which one of them would rather raise a turn. And more particularly, what you're going to do if you get shoved on.
I mean, it sucks, right? If we have the ace of spades and we get jammed on the turn.
If you get jammed on when you've got the ace of spades, what do?
We're probably folding.
We fold, yes. So we don't.
No. Yeah, you definitely don't fold.
So
it's better to have ace king with king of spades.
So why is it that you don't fold?
You probably just have
the ace of spades versus when you've got the king of spades.
Sorry,
we block all the flushes that we jam.
Why is it that you don't fold when you've got the ace of spades compared to the king of spades? So if you got the king of spades, you definitely fold. But if you've got the ace of spades, you don't fold. Why is that?
Is it because of the SBR?
Well, yeah, the SBR is low enough, so you got great pot odds. But what's the difference between the king of spades and the ace of spades if you get shoved on here on the turn?
If we have the ace of spades, he's not 3-bet clubs. Like,
what's he going to 3-bet jam as a bluff?
It means he doesn't have the ace of spades if we have the ace.
Yeah. Like if we have ace king with the ace of spades and he jams the turn when we raise, he 3-bet jams, it means that he's not jamming the ace of spades, which means we have to fold because his value range is bigger.
All right, so but both of them block the value range roughly the same. What about the bluffing range?
So if we have the ace of spades and we have good enough equity against the range, then we might have to call.
Why is that compared to the king of spades?
Well, because you draw the nuts, of course.
All right, I need more explanation.
So if you have the king of spades, and like if you have the king of spades, then you're not guaranteed. Like so, you don't have complete equity. Like you don't know. Like if you have ace king with a king of spades, and you get jammed on, then the villain could have ace high flush or ace high flush draw or stuff like that. If you have the ace of spades, then like when you hit a spade, you're good.
But also when you
good. So if you got the king of spades, the villain could be 3-bet jamming with a stronger flush draw, right? And so then you're just drawing dead, or close to dead essentially, right? So on the other hand, if you've got ace of spades king, you absolutely are just crushing all of his bluff jams. So for that reason, it's plus EV to call the jam here. Even though it's not, even though with the ace of spades king compared to the king of spades ace.
Sorry, it's better. We want to call the ace of spades, right?
Yes,
but not the king of spades.
it's blocking all the
yes.
So if that's the case,
but
then,
both of them block the bluffs the same, but the ace of spades crushes the remainder of the bluffs.
yeah.
So here on the turn, ace of spades king will raise, but king of spades ace won't. So ace with a king of spades is not within range.
Oh wow.
Damn. Okay.
Just because you can, if you got ace of spades king, you can actually call a shove. Also, it's a stronger bluff. And then when you're actually raising here, you want to be relatively polar in some sense because of the chance that you're going to get shoved on.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be too mergy with your bluffs. So like here, if you were to bet this hand, it's a bit too mergy. The hand is very strong, but you don't want to get jammed on. Versus like here, king, queen, and jack 7, you can comfortably fold them if you get shoved on, right?
Yeah.
So remember that, especially going into the turn, you want to get a bit more polar with your bets. All right. So now that we've discussed that, what do you guys think about the rest of them?
I'm still having a hard time wrapping my head around the king queen that we get here with that king queen of hearts.
Yeah, so you need some bluffs that isn't just with a spade.
Okay, all right.
Because when the spade comes, maybe you want some bluffs.
It's good equity, too.
Yeah, so you've got 6 outs, which is very nice against a pair.
And when the flush doesn't come, you're not blocking the missed flushes.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't understand what you mean though. Here on the river, when you hit the queen here,
We have the nuts with king queen.
yeah, you definitely don't have the nuts, but you have a relatively strong hand.
Okay, so can we bet this queen? Like, obviously, queen's better than the 10, but because we have no spade now and he's called the raise, can we bet it or is it a check?
So I'm going to say that. So like I just can't see betting jack 7. Like I think jack 7 has to give up.
On spade hand.
I actually think we have to jam the jack 7.
Yeah, I've heard that, and I disagree. I just think that if you're just going to take every time you have a spade and bluff, like you're just being a maniac and way over bluffing. Like on the river, like you're going to need to have a bluff to value ratio. You can't. So like we increase the earlier we are in the hand, the more bluffs we have, right? Because our bluffs have equity. On the river, there's like so jack 7. Like I just don't think it blocks. Like it blocks literally like 7x of spades.
It's like our worst hand though. Besides, I'm looking at the chart. except for we have 9-7, 10-7, 8-7, and then Jack-7 is the worst offsuit hand that we sometimes raise pre-flop versus a small blind open. If that makes any difference.
So that happens, but as you go down the tree, like as you play flop and turn, your range changes, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
what worst hand would we get to the river with?
Okay,
'Cause,
so
like,
so instead of thinking like, oh, this is my worst hand, so I bluff, think this is the bottom of my range that's never good, right? And it contains all these hands. What do I bluff with, and what do I just check back with and give up? And the way you sort it is based on blockers, right? Because you need to you're gonna have like some X number of combos of value hands. So you need to pick Y number of bluffs for jamming all in based on alpha to make his bluff catchers indifferent, right?
Right.
So if you do that, then I just can't see Jack-7 making it into your bluffing range. Like, you can't have that many bluff combos.
Would you jam Jack of Spades, 7 of Hearts? Like if the suits were reversed?
I'd much rather have the Ace of Spades or the King of Spades to bluff with.
But yeah, I guess the thing is, Ace King not being in range is very telling, because maybe we're not raising
Well, Ace
the
of Spades King is in the range. Ace of Spades King is in the range. Hello?
Sorry, again?
Ace
Can
of
you
Spades King is in the range.
Right.
So I think Ace of Spades King can bluff. But like, I think Jack-7 off is just like I
mean,
could
I
be,
see your point. Yeah.
yeah, like
I
wanting
makes
to
sense.
bluff just because you have a weak hand is not good logic.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of Ace of Spade X to bluff.
Lots of it.
Lots of
all the ace of literally all the ace like ace X off, like the weak ace X off, like we 3-bet, yeah. And I can see it getting here.
What sort of middling offsuit hands does villain have? He doesn't have like 8-7 off, right?
no, he kind of has like Jack-10 off or better.
Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't. But Jack-10 is pretty.
Yeah, because I was trying to come up with an argument where maybe with Jack-7 we kind of block his 8x hands offsuit, but yeah, he doesn't have those types of hands.
So I think 10s can better check. I think 10s can better
So
check.
it depends on looking at the flush blocker, and I'm not sure. Like, if villain has a lot of suited hands, then 10s then 10s can bet because it has a spade blocker. If he doesn't, then if he has a lot of offsuit hands, then it tends like the 10 of spades is actually a bad blocker because you could be calling with the 10 of spades.
So it's
At
the
the
10.
same time, I don't think villain's calling with the 10 of spades to the raise. With I mean, depends on the 10 of spades, but with just let's say he's only had one card, he's like, I don't have a good enough flush to call, like the flush draw to call.
I don't think villain should have very many overcards, so I think that the spade block is more important than having the higher pair. I don't think villain has too many queen X, because it'd have to be an offsuit queen. Like, it's either a flush, in which case like the king queen and the 10s do the same, they both lose, but then the 10s blocks like the 10 of spades. But yeah, I don't see very many queens here that are just calling the turn raise that aren't a flush.
You don't see very many queens that are calling a turn raise that aren't a flush. I think he has to call
King Queen, then some Queen Jack, some Queen 10.
Queen Jack with a spade.
That's not a lot, but yeah.
I mean, I don't think all those can really call either, though, can they?
Yeah, with one spade you can definitely call.
So you think he calls the turn with Queen Jack, with the Queen of Spades or Jack of Spades?
Queen Jack with spade, like a lot of like overs with one spade for sure. Like King 10, King Jack, King Queen, Queen Jack.
So if
Queen
that's
10.
the case, we definitely need to jam King Queen suited, right? Like if you can have so many.
Well, no, because then we also block, like when we have the queen, we also block the call range.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Like if he has a lot of those, we also block the call range. So I still think having the tens just block the flush is more important.
Yeah, I would think. Yeah, I think that's way more important in this situation. And
All right, very good.
I think that's a good point with the Jack 7 you made, because I was thinking of it like, oh, you want to fold out like the ace of spades, but I'm looking at the preflop chart and there's only a couple of those. So that's a good point with the Jack 7. I think I would definitely bluff that too much.
Yeah, so it's not about like, it's not about that as much as just like, you need to like rein in your willingness to bluff just because you don't have good hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. So here on the river, villain's going to be jamming some hands, including all the ones that missed. So when they check, your ace high is not so good. So your ace of spades king, which raised the turn, can follow through on the river. Similarly, ace of spades queen, versus you don't have the ace x with the king of spades, which we discussed that.
So what does their turn raise range look like?
Looks like this. If we look at it here, it's actually quite polar. So it's like some decent top pairs, mostly over pairs and flushes for value, and then whatever for bluffs. When you get jammed on, you have to be pretty clear about what you want to call. The ace of spades, X hands, all make it in there. Well, almost all of them. Sort of ace jack.
Wait, when you mean pretty clear on what you call with, you mean like picking with hands that are actually have some equity. If they can't call a jam, then you prefer to just call them and not raise them. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So if you're not, so if your bluff is very strong, so if you got a reasonably strong hand here, like ace with the king of spades, it's a reasonably strong hand, right? But it can't call a jam. So you don't want to bluff it here, right? It's much better to just check, and then if you make a spade, that's amazing. And if you make a top pair, that's pretty good too. On the other hand, the ace of spades is even stronger, and it can call a jam. So the combination of the two is it's a much stronger bluff for one.
How often are we getting 3-bet?
15% of the time. These two are roughly the same, but you end up with the same result.
Okay.
So if you get jammed on, like the solver will do that sometimes. Like it can't distinguish between these two sizes because they're essentially equivalent.
I mean, you're never gonna. I mean, how often is he gonna? Are you like what's left? 12, 14, 13, 12.5?
Yeah, you're just gonna shove all your continues anyway.
Yeah.
So essentially, you can consider them to be the same. If you get shoved, if you get raised to a non-all-in size, you would just shovel all the hands you continue with, and it's the same range as if you got shoved on. So yeah, like a king queen, very comfortable fold, right? Ace queen off, ace king. Anyway, so bet, call. Tens. I mean, it's sort of a trick question between king queen and tens. I mean, they're actually very similar. I just wanted you guys to think it through. Tens and ace queen and jacks with the tens of the spade and with the flush draw blocker. and the jacks with a flush or blocker can at least bet sometimes, and similarly with king queen. But that particular combo of tens almost always bets 99.8% of the time, so roughly 99% of the time. And then the jack seven with the seven of spades checks. If you have a stronger spade, then you're more likely to bluff here, like the ace of spades, or the king of spades, or here the jack of spades. And the yeah, that was it. Right.
Could you go back to the turn and
Yeah.
how does it decide how many combos of non-spades to use? Is there like some sort of way so that we don't go too crazy with that? The king queens, was it like only the?
Yeah. So here, that's what the raising range looks like. Okay, and you need a good sort of mix of the different overcuts.
Like, is it taking king queen offsuit? Is it just okay? It's taking those too.
I mean, yeah, it'll take both.
Yeah, when you get jammed on, you compare the difference between having the ace of spades and having the king of spades, right? So here, having the ace of spades around 30% equity versus having king of spades all around 20% equity, and that difference is the bluffs in the jamming range. So if we look at it here, like they've got ace of spades X, and then some king of spades and queen of spades X, right? So like you absolutely crush all the bluffs, and here it's like 10% of the range. When you have the ace of spades, king, ace of spades, queen, but not if you have ace and then the king of spades, because then you actually behind. Well, you're not really behind if you've got the king of spades, but you don't have anywhere near as much equity when you've got ace king with the king of spades.
Yeah.
Right, because they've got their bluffs are all the ace of spades.
Yeah, it's about robustness of the equity, right? Yeah.
Or could you look at like the combination split for overcards, like raise, call, fold on the turn versus the donk?
Yeah, so it's 10% donk. This is the rest of the range. So a good variety of.
Or I'm saying like when they
used.
donk, can you show us how we split our overcards? Does it show you that?
Yeah, here. So some of the overcards that are flush drawn over here. So the offset ones do. Yeah, just in general, if it's stronger, you're going to be calling.
Something.
Can you show the king jack suited, please? Can you hover over? Okay. So, okay, red is full. Okay.
Yeah, if you look at it in terms of EV, there's not a huge amount of EV calling any of these hands. The point is that if you wanted to continue with some of these hands, you want to have it in your raising range. And particularly king queen is pretty good because it's the strongest. King high essentially, king high and queen high because they almost never have ace king and queen and ace queen, and you get to fold out some of the ace high, some of them, not all of them, and then getting hits the river. Yeah, I mean all the ace high without a spade will fold, and then getting to river you can value bet. Right, so is that the last one? So hopefully you guys are almost brain dead by this stage.
I joined late, so I'm fine.
All right, this one.
Okay, I don't think the king jack wants to raise the turn. So I think that's the one that's not in the range.
You don't think it's king 10? King 10 is just a boat, no? Aren't you just gonna be calling and then try to trap a flush?
Yeah.
So remember now we have 10-3 and king 10 though.
Yeah, I mean, I think 10-3 makes more sense as a raise than king 10, just because we don't block the top pair also.
Yeah, so remember in the last one it was 10-3 deuce 10, right? 10-3 deuce 10 or 10-3 deuce 3.
Yeah.
Right? So in those ones, the problem with 10-3 is it blocks with a flush draw getting there on the turn. The problem there is you want to villain to flush because you can have a boat. But like on this one, there's a king, so that's higher. So we could have top pair. Villain could have top pair. So I don't think we want to block top pair.
Mm-hmm.
So I think king 10 has to be not in the range to raise. I think king 10 is going to call, and then villain's going to bet, or we're going to jam or whatever.
Right.
Yes.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like 10. I can't not shove 10-3 on this river.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry, but I haven't thought about that. I've just sort of just said it. Just like, yeah, like.
Because it isn't blocking villain's value that we're likely to get called.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. My gut was just like, yeah, we've got a boat. We're gonna jam. Okay, so King Jack of clubs is the interesting one because we blocked the flush draws that villain might have called our turn bet with.
Yeah, so I think Ace King's the
Better check.
the indifferent one, and then King Jack is just pure check.
King Jack will still lose to King Queen as well. So.
I think
Wait, why does that matter that we're blocking, that we're, like, because we're trying to get called on the river free bet. So could you explain that with the flush draw?
With King Jack. Okay, so King Jack of clubs, right? So we raise the turn, yeah? When we raise the turn,
yeah.
what will villain call with? Villain will call with a lot of flush draws. Yeah?
Right.
So if villain calls with a lot of flush draws, we're blocking the flush draws. You're not getting value from a flush draw, right? Like, you're never going to jam a flush draw, like a miss, and he's going to call with a miss flush draw. That's not going to happen. Right? He's going to fold.
Correct, but I guess I don't understand how that translates to the river. I see on the turn that makes perfect sense.
Okay, so if he calls with two clubs on the turn, yeah,
He's gonna fold the river.
like say he has like Jack, Ace, Jack of clubs, or I don't know, something like that. Then you're gonna bet. Then he's gonna check. Like he's gonna give up on the river. So you block. So if you.
Wait. We blocked the air with King Jack.
Yeah, so I'm confused about that.
Sorry.
We actually blocked the air with King Jack. So when that happens, then we get called more often.
Yeah,
it's just like King Jack is a weaker hand. I mean, sure, like King Queen, Ace. I don't really think he has Ace King too often here, but
we're blocking the bluffs with King Jack, which means there's more chance we'll get called or something.
That's a little too hand wavy. Like
no, but like so we block the air, right? So which means that there's less air in the villain's range. So sure, some of those hands, non-air hands, beat us, but most of them probably don't. And since it's kind of like an indifferent hand, if we're picking between Ace King and King Jack, I think the block effect's stronger than just beating King Queen.
Like the Jack of clubs blocks like his air. He'll get called like for.
Yeah, that's good. We want to block his air.
Well, the air would fold. So yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to get called when we bet.
Hey, but are you guys sure that King Jack is raised on the turn?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just because we know King 10's not in the range.
No, even without that, I know it's raised for sure. It's raised.
But if he has tens and he gets it in, are you happy calling with King Jack?
I mean, if he has tens, if he has pocket tens, then good for him.
No, if he has 110.
110 with King Jack?
No, just like a 10x.
Yeah, pretty sure we're pretty happy stacking off here. We dominate a lot of the draws.
With King Jack of clubs and we get jammed on, we have to call.
So what about ace king?
Yeah, with king jack of clubs, we would call because we have the flush draw, and we arguably have what, like 2 king outs and 9 club outs probably.
And with ace king, we bet call because we unblock his queen jack stuff, like queen jack of clubs, ace jack of clubs that he might shove with as a bluff.
So, what did he call the turn with? What did he call the turn with, and then check the river with? I'm suggesting it's a lot of clubs,
King X, 10x,
queen jack. Let's say, like he could have, like Phil's going to check almost like most of his range on the river.
right?
So he has a lot of kings too, like king queen.
Yeah, I think him having king queen, he has like a lot of combos of king queen.
I mean, I would
ace king.
Back both. I think like in reality you could check back both, but like which one do you think would be if you were like forced to bet one? What would you bet?
I would definitely take ace king because I think he has king queen that has to call, and that's
King
like a lot
queen
of
and
so-
queen jack as well. That's like
So-
24 combos.
Wait. So if we were bluffing here, let's say with like, I don't know, with 9-8 for example, 9-8 of clubs, we wouldn't want to bluff it because we have terrible blockers to the fold range. Like we blocked all the fold range, but that's just a bluff. So if we have a hand that's not a bluff, so king jack, then conversely that should mean it's good to block all those hands.
I see what you're saying, but that king jack, it can like because you block the hands that he might call with, but I'm worried that it's like
And also we also block the king queen with like we have
value owning yourself. You value owning yourself. Like you want, so you like I have king jack, so that blocks his fold. So we'll call more because we're value betting, which is good. But then it's like, ooh, what if he's good?
Hey guys, for the king jack suited, I ran the equity, and versus his 10x on the turn, you only have 22%. So that might be a check there.
Wait,
Maybe
versus
king jack never gets to the river. Yeah, I ran that.
Turn.
He doesn't always have a 10 though, right?
No, like that's versus like the top of his range versus like worse kings or like flush draws. We're way ahead.
okay, who asked that question about the 22% equity,
It was not a question.
or who said that? Yeah.
It was me.
Okay, Iggy. So the thing was like, let's say you raise here and get on the turn and get jammed on.
Yeah,
You have to pretend you have to call with one hand, king jack or ace king. Which one do you do it
but
with?
that's probably is why you don't want to raise here, because oftentimes these are wide ranges, and villain can show up here with a 3 easily that he calls as a second pair on the flop one time, and then he hits that on turn. So when you're raising, he's gonna continue very often, and you're gonna have bad pot odds. And if he has king X, you're only really ahead. Well, you are ahead of about a bunch, I guess.
Yeah. King jack, king queen. Sorry, actually, king 10.
So like,
jack.
Like, how do you know? Like,
It's also just a 10% pot bet, right? It's not like it's not a huge lead.
oh, that's true.
So it's
That's I didn't see that. I didn't pay attention to that.
it's not really like
it's like a blocker
he led half pot and we raised.
Right. Okay.
So also, like, I don't know where you got this range of like what villain's range is on this board.
So I think so the 10% lead range isn't going to be the same as the check range, but if we were check 2 here, we'd bet both, like almost for sure, right?
So is this button versus what are the ranges? What are positions for this?
BVB.
Small blind versus big blind.
3-bet pot, yeah. So does anyone have another reason why we would bet king jack over ace king? I don't see it, like, unless somehow
I
king
think
jack is blocking a 10.
I think that king jack makes a better check because we're more liable to get bluffed by misdraws and stuff, which we can call. So it has more checking EV, the king jack. suited.
I think we're jamming. I think we're jamming here, so we can't get bluffed.
Yeah.
We're talking about better check or check, right?
Yeah. So what Owen is saying is so the pot is 86.4, right?
Yeah, we have 56 behind, so
Yeah. So
doesn't-
I mean, like, are you gonna bet 20? What are you gonna bet 40? No, you're gonna jam.
So this is pretty much check or jam. Those are the two options.
Well, like one of them is indifferent, right?
I think ace king is indifferent.
So I just think so. Like the reason we prefer ace king over king jack is because ace king beats king queen, but both like we block the king queen with having a king, so it's not as significant, and also we don't block as many of the folds with ace king that we do with king jack.
So okay, I have a question. Let's say you do bet king jack. What do you want to get called by?
Bunch of worse kings, probably like
king what?
Yeah, there's not very many if you think about it. He's not gonna.
Jacks.
He's probably not calling king 9 off pre-flop.
I mean, I think he has to. No.
No, I mean he doesn't have king 9 off in his range.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
it'd be
think
like
he bet.
king 8 suited, king 7 suited,
Yeah,
king 6 fat, king 6
like with ace
suited.
king, you get called by all those king x suited, king 8, king 7, and you get called by king jack and king queen. So I think it's better to just jam the ace king.
10 ace.
Like so, ace king, you also beat king jack.
Yeah,
So like when we have king jack and we bet on a turn, he's less likely to have a flush draw that would continue there. So he can have like a 10 in there, or I don't know, but basically it's less flush draws
yeah, it's I
on
think
a
that's
turn.
fun.
So that means he's like, if we bet king jack on the river, that means that was less likely to continue with the drawing hand. So
Okay, so I'm thinking about it this way. So when we jam, we have some alpha, which villain's gonna fold at, and so like when we have ace king, like that alpha is going like so he doesn't know that we block. So he just looks at his alpha and he folds. Okay, like all these flush draws are obviously folding. So when he calls, it's gonna be like it's gonna be way more hands that how do you say are not just. No, let me think about how to phrase this.
I see what you mean.
So we also do like lose the hands here when we jam. Like villain can have 10x also.
Yeah, I think king jack suited makes him more 10x heavy. That's the problem. That's why I think we need to check king jack suited, because we block his drawing turn continue range, so you will be more 10x heavy.
yeah, and his king will probably beat ours as well, unless
But
it's
then
also
the ace king when the ace king when he calls, he's more 10x heavy. So like on the river, maybe he has more 10x when we
No, it's the other way. When we raise the turn with ace king, it will be more draw heavy.
Yeah.
Right, no, but when we jam the river and get called, it's going to be more 10x heavy because he's going to fold all those draws.
Yeah, if we jam with king jack suited.
Doesn't he have to lead if he has a 10 on the river? I mean, like, because of the 50% rule, like he's going to want to check his king X stuff, but he should have to have some kind of a lead range with his 10X, right?
Well,
So when he
unless
checks,
if
when he
they
checks
have-
the river, when he checks the river, I think we discount a fair amount of his 10X.
I don't think there's going to be too much of a lead range here because like the river bricked, and so like I think a lot of the 10x, some of them might be 3-betting on the turn. So I just
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think there'd be too much of a leading range here on the river.
What about blocking?
Maybe if it was a club, like if it was a club, maybe I could see a lead. But
how does blocking the ace affect with the ace king blocks the ace high hands?
here's something, guys. So we have the king of clubs specifically, which is a top pair with the king jack. Like, what if villain had the king of clubs? Would he be more likely to call or more likely to fold?
King of clubs.
I want to.
I mean, he's calling with.
I don't think any kings are folding here though.
I want to put the same question.
So you can definitely fold some kings.
Yeah, you definitely have to fold some kings, but like if he has king deuce of clubs, I think he folds.
Do we want to bluff miss flush draw here to represent a bluff?
No, you don't want to bluff king jack if you're referring to that, because we have some showdown value.
Like, we're not bluffing with ace king or king jack, guys.
I think we can bet with king jack, and if we get raised, we can.
We're not getting raised. We're jamming.
We're jamming rivers so we can get raised.
I want to say to put another question. If villain have king 9 with clubs and without of clubs, which more like it's inclined to call? With clubs?
He's gonna call without the club.
With not a club, you say?
Yeah.
So then we need to bluff king jack.
We're not bluffing.
There's no bluff value.
To get value, sorry, to get value from not a club hand. If this logic you input.
I think we need to decide which one of them to check. There's 2 hands left. So,
I mean, so I'll be honest. I would check both So whichever one turns out to be the better check, I'm still checking most of the time in real life. But I don't like. I'm trying to think which one would I rather bet, and that's my question.
Well, it's indifferent, so we don't have to rather do check or bet. It's either way. If it's indifferent, we don't really have. It's really all the same in a way, right?
I actually think that if we bet ace king, we will win more often, just because we don't block any bluffs, and in case he has king queen.
But betting or checking ace king has got to be the same EV. Otherwise, it wouldn't be indifferent.
Oh, but I'm saying it's better to bet ace king than king jack, because like you can more often, and you're not blocking the missed flush. Oh no, you are.
I think it's better to bet ace king. I agree with that.
I think that king queen and king jack are just too part of his calling range on the turn to not bet ace king, or to prefer betting. Yeah, like after all this blocker effect with the clubs and stuff, like I see the argument.
You know what? We don't want
king jack.
We don't want to bet because if the other one's indifferent. So all it is which one don't we want to bet? And I think we don't want to bet the king jack because he gets beat by king queen, and that therefore the other one doesn't matter whether we want to bet or check. It's indifferent anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, villain would have to fold all of his king x of club combos for us to take king jack and bet that over ace king. Is there any merit in him folding all of his kings with a club?
Like, I mean, it depends on the bet size too, but I think it's probably going to be calling.
The bet size is 56.8. That's our bet size, guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
this one is here. This one's here.
Yeah. You just can't you just beat king jack, which is you just beat some
if you had I'll show you this one. If you have king jack hearts, you can shove it all the time, and the reason is you block king queen versus if you block the king queen that calls. Right. So when you shove, there is some folds from king jack and king queen. The reason being is because a lot of your bluffs are like queen x and jack x. So these hands, even though they're stronger, they don't make as good of a bluff catchers as these ones do in terms of the amount of king x that they've got. But the main difference is that between king jack of hearts and king jack of the flush draw is that the flush draw doesn't block any of the folds from the stronger king, versus the one without the flush draw blocks the it can get the stronger king to fold while simultaneously getting called by weaker kings.
True.
Yeah, you can do both. You can get the stronger kings to fold and the weaker kings to fold. Weaker kings to call. It's like amazing.
Yes.
Wait,
So,
how?
Because a lot of your bluffs come from Queen X and Jack X with a
Oh,
club.
I see. I see. My God, Queen 7 off takes this line. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and you're right about the not having a donking range. If it was a club, it'd definitely be a bit of a donking range there. Right, very different scenario. Or if something stupid like this, then they donk everything. All right, so that's the end of that. Let's hopefully I put all the inputs in correctly. Yeah, there we go. So that went for quite a bit. And anyone have any questions about any of the questions we went through? Any concepts that were covered? Yeah, this was a quiz on triple barreling, and it's a lot about how do you get to the river, which hands get to the river. So each of the options had a hand which wasn't in the range. So you got to think about how you're going to get here, right? With each of your hands, right? Which is how you got to think in game, right? When you've played it a certain way, you got to think about all the hands that you have and all the hands that you don't have, right? Because they would have taken a different line, or they would have taken a different line at a very high frequency. And then each one had like an all-in, and then either a better check or like a smaller bet size, and then a check. So got to differentiate between which hands we just want to rip it in and which hands we don't. So hopefully you guys learned something. If anything, you should have learned like which hands you want to take a different line on an earlier street. Hopefully that got drilled into quite a bit, and then maybe some stuff about blockers was highlighted as well. So any questions?
Just that last one. Does it matter, like what we were going back and forth on? Does it matter from Villain's perspective whether he has a club or not when he calls the river, the king?
Yeah. So with the king, right? They're less likely to call if they've got a club.
Okay,
Right?
they are.
Particularly the king of clubs and the queen of clubs. So the king jack, right? The king jack of clubs, right, is more likely when it shoves to get called by a stronger king or a chop, versus the king jack of hearts is more likely to get a fold from the opponent's king jack or king queen. And that difference is the reason why king jack of hearts always shoves and king jack of clubs always checks. Ace king is different. I think put the wrong combination in. Doesn't matter. Basically, all the ace kings are very close to indifferent between betting and all in and checking anyway.
Wait, sorry. So without the king of clubs, villain is calling more.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
here, when you shove, out of all the top pairs which fold, it's the king jack and the king queen and a little bit of the king nine, and the reason why is because all of your bluffs are either a queen x, jack x, or 9x, and you're more likely to bluff with a club as well. So king jack, with a jack of clubs, likes to fold, right? King queen with the queen of clubs likes to fold, right? Definitely king queen of clubs will fold, and then king jack of clubs will fold. So if you've got king jack of hearts, you're actually going to fold out a stronger hand or a chop some of the time, while simultaneously also getting called by the weaker kings and like ace high and other weak pairs. right? Versus if you've got king jack of clubs, you're going to get called by those stronger kings because you don't block them.
Don't
You
we
actually
get
block
called more
the
often?
folds.
Don't we get called more often by the weaker kings without a club though? Because they can't have those anymore.
So all of these will call regardless of whether they've got a club or not. But these ones up here don't, because you're bluffing with queen of clubs, jack of clubs, nine of clubs. Right, which is why these ones up here will fold. So like the king jack with the jack of clubs really likes to fold. Similarly with the queen of clubs, folds some of the time as well. So yeah, you just got to think about which hands you're bluffing and how your opponent is going to react to that. It's very subtle.
Does it matter at all that the king jack blocks the missed flushes? The one with the clubs, I mean. Does that affect anything at all?
There isn't that many. There's specifically ace of clubs jack. Like if you look here, all the flush draws, they're all going to be like a king X, or they're going to jam on you. So doesn't really do anything about blocking the flush draws.
So in general, though, so if we block those air hands that would be auto folds, that's good for us wanting to value bet, right?
Yeah, you gotta think about what you're doing. In general, if you block folds, you're going to be value betting more often. Sorry, block folds from those bigger hands. You're going to be wanting to value bet more often. Here, in particular, you're with the king of clubs jack. You're actually blocking folds from stronger hands. So you're not value betting as often. Another thing is that these, when the SPR gets very low, the line between bluff and value on the river sort of gets blurred a bit. If you've got blockers strong enough to make the difference, and here is one example. The difference between king jack of hearts and king jack of clubs is actually quite huge.
Wait, so why is it that the king jack of hearts is always betting, but then the ace kings are indifferent?
Yeah, so king jack of hearts unblocks folds from king queen and king jack.
Okay.
So you can fold out some stronger hands.
Okay, so it benefits more from betting.
Yeah, and it's not clearly a value out because you don't actually get called by worse more than half the time. But
ace king beats those hands anyways, so it doesn't benefit as much from them folding.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean by blurring value and bluff here.
That's hard to wrap your head around in a game, but I see it.
Yeah, if the stacks were deeper, I'm pretty sure they'd all be checks. But this one, the king of hearts jack thing would disappear. Maybe ace king was still bet. It's really just because the SPR is very low. That's when things get a bit weird. Just like in one of the earlier examples that we had when the SPR was like a half. And then we bet the jack 9. Actually, that was value. So, any other questions?
I missed the first 3/4 of this.
Yeah, I'll put the recording link up in the tutorial and teaching chat.
All right, cool. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for this, Thomas. Good stuff.
Amazing. Thank you.
Even in the 3 questions, I learned a lot. So
my brain run a marathon.
Yeah, these take a lot out of you, huh? Like the. Anyways,
All right, great. So hopefully see you guys in the next one. Everyone who is at home, thanks for watching in.
Thank you.
See you later.